Hello, I'm Eagle Gardens 1 on Instagram, and this is fucking talking shit with Eagle, episode 834. And man, I am very much looking forward to hanging out with this guy. I have been very quietly and trying to get this guy from behind the scenes for a very long time. I've asked Mendo Dope on how a good way to get a hold of you, and recently you kind of popped your head up, and I took full advantage. Very much looking forward to that, and very much making a rookie move there. So nervous about this. I left.
I was just wondering what just happened. I was like, did I lose? I lost internet about an hour ago. I text messaged you on that one, and I was like, please tell me I didn't just lose my internet. I went right to my settings.
Right here. So this is Mr. Mendocino Nice. If those of you that do not know who this gentleman is, you should very much be on your radar these days. Very much very early on trying to spread the organic message, you know, which it wasn't in back then, it wasn't an easy message to pass along. But man, very grateful to get a chance to get to know you this evening, Mr. Mendocino. Nice. How are you? You want to tell us how you're doing and where they can find you these days?
Oh, I'm doing great, Eagle. I really appreciate you for having me, and I appreciate all the weed nerds for tuning in tonight. This is awesome. It does feel really good to be back in front of the camera. This is actually the second podcast this month, or in the last month that I've been on, and it feels really good to come back out of the soil where I was hiding for a couple of years and reemerge, get my face back on the screen, and try to pick up where I left off. For those who don't know my background, I was one of the first in history to put a video out with Mendo Dope on no-till gardening. At the time, nobody had a video out on YouTube. We were the first weed nerds to kind of tackle the subject and the topic, and we tried to make it an educational video. It was on a series that they did on their channel, on the Mendo Dope YouTube channel. I think it was called Tales of a Doper, and they had gone around and I just filmed different gardens, showed different methods that people were doing, bringing different things to the table, showing how they were, living their life. And, they happened to come to my garden in Minnesota, and I was able to show them no-till. And then together we came up with a way where we could try to teach and educate this. At the time, like you said, it was a complicated system, and we wanted to be able to show all the weed nerds what the heck we were doing. And just what that video's turned into is it's powerful and it's amazing. It's a huge accomplishment for myself, and then it's helped seed my future, my family's future. Just a big opportunity, and I just look forward to running with it and trying to spread the knowledge and the love. And that's why I'm here tonight, is just to talk a little bit about soil and regenerative agriculture, and whatever else comes to light tonight.
Right on. It wasn't an easy message to spread then, um, for sure. And it's funny that I think about it now in the introduction. Organics is organics, but back then there was definitely a line between organics and the no-till. It's looking back, it was you guys were pushing for the same message. You know what I mean? I can't believe there was such a, and it was a line like almost fighting for some, on that organic, so no-till kind of thing.
Right there was really, I mean, at the time, like you said, there was a definite line in the sand. And you had your nutrient growers, using botanicaires and general hydroponics and stuff. They're on one side of that line, and then you pretty much had your subcool super soil growers on the other side of that line. And to us, that was what organics was. And On the organic side, there was pretty much two groups of people. There were the super soil growers, or the ones that were using like the Revs living soil mixes, down to the ones who tried to do it as cheap and easy as possible and be able to do like a recycled organic living soil. I actually believe there used to be a forum called that. And I kind of learned a lot from a person back in the day. I think their name was Three Little Birds, and they had a soil mix up, and I used that for a while. Loved it. At the end of the run, you'd be able to take your root ball, dump it out, re-amend it, and then reuse it again. And that was great. That worked out really good, but it ran into problems. Kind of ran out of juice. But that's whenever I stumbled into the no-till thread. And if it wasn't for people like Mountain Organics and Coot, then I don't think a lot of us would really be where we are today with this. I have to give those guys full credit for coming up with the no-till system for us, especially Coot. I mean, he was the one that kind of pioneered some of the stuff, and he brought some science to the table that a lot of us had never heard of, and we were able to use it, put our own spin on it together, we put our heads together, and we came up with a better way to do things. So
Well, I usually start this off right at the beginning, so I can't help but not like back up and get that first question, or well, second question now. When was the first time you either used cannabis or cannabis came into your life? When did
oh yeah,
the love for
yep.
cannabis?
I would say I'm talking about the love. I think the love for cannabis came whenever I was about in my later teenage years in high school. I grew up in Northern California, and cannabis was culture out there. Everybody partook in cannabis in some way, whether you were growing it. There were kids at my school that were working on farms, doing trim jobs. Um, Pretty much everyone you knew smoked it. We growing up, we were all just we rode skateboards and bikes, and we smoked weed in the woods or down by the beach. Like that. That's how we grew up. And I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the whole culture. Um, when you come into a room full of people that are relaxed and happy, it's so much more enlightening than walking into like an environment where everyone's hostile and the music's just too loud and there's this weird vibe and you're like, what the heck is going on? And that's not my lifestyle. I'm a laid back guy. So I fell in love with the fact that cannabis could help me relax. I could focus. I have really horrible ADHD. So you'll probably notice that in the interview, or a lot of the weed nerds will, or maybe they already have, is that I start to stray off topic a little bit because of that. And cannabis really helps me relax so that I could actually reset my mind, focus on everything. It's my medicine. It's what I need. So
It's a powerful medicine, too, at that. And I always like to say that outside of cannabis, that the cultivation is every bit of a medicine in itself. Just spending that time in the garden. I get wound up myself, and man, and that time of staring at the plants just literally screeches everything and focuses on that. And then from there, I can kind of pick and choose what I want to think about once I've let the plants shut it down. So, I agree.
right, it's such a beautiful thing. I mean, did you have you caught the new? I don't know if you ever watched Joe Rogan at all, but did you catch the one recently with Cat Williams? It's kind of blowing the internet up a little bit.
I didn't catch his interview with Joe yet, but he did one recently with Club Shay, which was he's a ex football player. And, it was a pretty good one too. But no,
Yep.
short answer, no. I haven't.
Okay. Well, in that interview, they cover a lot of topics. I mean, they go really deep. They might go far out for some people's minds, but one thing that they talk about and was really cool in that interview was cannabis and the plant itself. And Cat Williams is speaking about it, and he's talking about how this plant was put here by design. It was put here to be here for us to be able to find. It was in every region of the world at one point in time. It grew naturally, it grew wild. We as humans were supposed to be able to go find this, be able to use it as medicine. And that's what we've done with it. And he goes on to talking about the like relaxing side of cannabis. And, you know, humans, that's one of the most important thing that we need in our life is just to be able to relax, knock that edge off, unwind. And that's cannabis. And I just thought it was such a powerful statement. If you guys haven't watched it, I'd encourage you to go check it out. I'm sure you could even find some TikToks just on that one segment if you don't want to watch the whole interview. So, but he lays a powerful message out there about the plant, and I loved it.
He's a pretty deep spiritual guy and all, man, Cat Williams. I would have never kind of guessed, but yeah, he's a pretty spiritual guy. Very, very on point with a lot of things he's putting out there right now. So I guess my next follow up would be when did the love for organics come in? I mean, that could have been something that could have came on as a kid, a family pass on.
Yep. Okay. So my very first weed plant that I ever grew, and I'm going to talk about this one. I grew it, I think I was 15 years old whenever I grew this plant. And we went out behind my buddy's house. On the other side of his fence, there was this field. I can't tell you how many acres it was, 4 or 5 acres. It was just a desolate field. Nobody had ever used it, wasn't ever tilled or anything like that. And we went out there and we scooped this soil up into a bucket. And then in his backyard, he had a peach tree. Well, it was the time of year where all the peaches were falling off of the trees. And they were hitting the ground and they were rotten. So we took all these rotten peaches and we just started mashing them into this topsoil, just packing them in there, and like created this slurry of a mess of soil that we were like, oh, plants are going to love this. We had no clue what we were doing. We're just kids. We kind of, I don't know if we just picked up on this naturally, that these peaches would help the ground or the soil that our plant was growing in. But I grew this one plant in that pot, and that was to date one of the most impressive plants I've ever grown. It was a seed from a bag of like Bammer, just a horrible brickweed. Don't even know what it was, but it had to have been some kind of a landrace plant. This thing had purple and yellow hairs after it was dried. And we're not talking like dark purple or almost burgundy, but like that bright neon purple. And tasted so good too. And we didn't know what we were doing, but that was my first organic go. And then once we all turned 18 out in California, everybody goes and gets their card. Or at that time, we all went and got our medical cards, and you could start growing. I think it was 12 plants a person, something like that. But you could do collective gardens where multiple growers could get together, and you could have a bigger grow, indoors or outdoors. But we started growing, and when we did it, we started using Fox Farm bagged soil and Fox Farm bottled newts. Yeah, we went to the grow shop, and it's what the guy hooked us up with. He pulls out the chart. He's like, here, this is what you need, And we grew a couple rounds. We built this shed out behind our house. It was a 10 by 12 shed. We had 2 1,000 watt lights in there, and we grew a few rounds in that shed. And the first round was really good. We paid attention to detail, everything. The second round was horrible. We got spider mites. Room was bad. Plants looked like shit. And it was about that time that we're like, why do these plants look bad? So that's when we started searching the internet, and we came across the soil I was telling you about, that Three Little Birds soil. It was a choice between that or super soil. And for us, we didn't have the money to be able to go buy all the exotic ingredients that were in super soil, because there was a lot of them. And so we chose the easier route. And from that point forward, we just kicked it off with organics and just kind of always progressed with it, started to understand it. When you're growing cannabis indoors with organics, and then outside, you're growing vegetable gardens damn near the exact same way. You're getting double the practice and you're starting to learn. And it honestly wasn't until after I put out the second video. This is the second video with Mindo Dope, the one where I went to the farm and I helped them set up their first no-till. We had we did a number of beds that year, but I think the one we did the video on was 1,000-gallon smart pot of Soil King Big Roots from the year before, and we re-amended all of that. We were able to reuse it. I'm pretty sure that that plant is the album cover for the Planters of the Trees 2 album, if I'm not mistaken. So if you want to look at that, you can see that picture. It's a fucking monster plant. I think it was like 15 feet tall and 15 feet around, you know. So that was a big girl. And after that, the revolution kind of kicked off. And what I mean by that was that more growers started coming to the scene, and information started to flow. And it wasn't until you started to see all this information unfold that you realized what the heck you actually had. You know, we grew the way we did because we knew it was good for our bodies, and it was probably the healthiest options that we could choose to grow our cannabis and our vegetables. And then we could use the other parts of the plants and stuff like that to feed chickens and rabbits, kind of closing the loop on the system. But when all this other information started coming to the table, it freaking kicked off. And like Joshua Steensland came out. If I'm not sure if you know who he is, but absolutely amazing grower who I've had an opportunity to network with over the years. And
been on the show.
okay, that's awesome, man. Yeah, he is a wealth of information, and he is such a good guy, and he's true to the roots of soil too. And you know, folks, good people like him started coming to the table. Jeremy's Build a Soil YouTube channel absolutely started to take off, and him having a business was really able to help the entire community too, because now people had a place to go to source the stuff. Before we were ordering it, you know, from 4 or 5 different places online if you couldn't find things locally. And we always stressed local first. Well, you couldn't, like, I'm in Minnesota. You go to try to go somewhere and find a bag of compost here in the wintertime, you're not going to. It's hard. I mean, you're going to have to go like beg a nursery to dig it out of some frozen pile out back. And then they're going to start questioning you, you know, why do you need soil before, you know, in the wintertime? People start to get weirded out. So Jeremy opening Build a Soil up really helped everything. And it was about that time when the revolution started to unfold. And that's whenever I realized, damn, dude, we have something, and we started something, and we helped this, and we're going to keep helping this because this is freaking beautiful. And I got some more I'm going to dive into on this, but I just want to tip my hat to everyone who's involved in this revolution, because we're making our planet better, one plant at a time, one scoop of soil at a time.
It's an amazing thing, 100%. The organics revolution. Where do you? I mean, looking back, we're talking, and for those who don't know, we're talking 10 plus years ago. Shit, it seems like 15 now, closer to 15.
Yeah, it's a decade ago. I think it was 10 years ago whenever I had shot that first video with those guys. And, you know, that changed my life. That gave me a lot of courage as a grower too, because, you know, Minnesota didn't become legal just until August of 2023. We couldn't grow any plants. We were outlaws, and we had harsh penalties for it here too. It would have been a manufacturing charge, which carried a 10-year sentence in our state. So, but shit, sorry, I kind of had a brain fart there. Forgot what I was even starting to go off and talk about. I'm a little stoned right now.
Well, we were
But yeah,
talking
anyways,
about the, you know, the progression of the organics and how you thought about it these days.
yeah. But yeah, anyways, um, no, I this this is it was super inspiring to me. It's helped change my life, and I say that because this whole coming out on the internet in an illegal state was terrifying. You want to talk about putting goosebumps up your spine? I mean, that right there will do it. You're peeking at your curtains every minute of the day after that, wondering if somebody knows. And I wasn't worried about cops, man. I'm an active member of my community and got son that's in scouts, baseball. I'm involved in that. There's officers that I'm involved in that. You know, they have children in these programs too. And you don't want anyone finding out. And it scared me. And I think it was the fear that kept me going. Um, Soil King actually had told me that you'll find success whenever you start to intimidate the intimidator. So if you're scared, use that to your advantage and face those people. And he specifically said that it wasn't until he started going to um, town hall meetings and uh, cannabis community activist meetings and stuff like that that he actually started to develop that courage for himself. And now look at him. You know, it's a powerful thing too. So, but being able to do that, coming out, helping to change this, start, you know, help be a pioneer of this revolution, put myself out on the camera, helped other people do that too. Um, and then it's helped the way that I live my life, you know, my food choices, my health choices, what I want to do for exercise and recreation. You know, it's helped me just to live a better life.
That it does, you know, and that's one of the things that I'm on board with, and I agree with. I always say that it provides a better quality of life. Those that are even sick and, you know, they try it as a last resort, and I see that a lot, and it's kind of sad that, you know, people will chase record or, you know, traditional medicine, I guess we'll call it, for quite a ways, and then they'll come to cannabis as a last resort when they could have been open-minded in the beginning, and cannabis could have, you know, probably saved their lives a lot of times. But a lot of times they wait until it's that last resort, and then at that point it still offers a better quality of life through the rest of it, when, you know, and then that's what it does all the way through. You know, if you're 20 years old and using it, you know, you're using it for some way, reason, or one shape or form or another, and it, you know, and it's probably to make your life better. You're shaking off some anxiety, or one reason or another, you're using it. And it
Yeah,
does, it provides a better quality of life.
absolutely. And you know, another thing about getting about the whole cannabis community coming out and joining the no-till revolution. This is no-till revolution's actually been going on a lot longer than just cannabis. I mean, it's on the forefront of the agricultural industry right now. I mean, you got the entire world and governments trying to come together right now to figure out ways to suppress carbon emissions. And even the United States government's got programs, and they're starting programs for no-till agriculture. If you guys can remember back, we had the Dust Bowl, and the cost of the Dust Bowl was tilling the soil. And um, you know, we basically depleted the soil so much that nothing could grow there and nothing could stop erosion. And it turned it into a barren wasteland. And now we still till a lot as a country, as a world. We're still tilling a lot of fields, but um, the United Nations said there's actually only 50, or sorry, there's like 60 years roughly of topsoil left on this planet. So that's 60 crops for agriculture. 60 crops. And that was put out like 4 or 5 years ago, that statement. So you can start to do the math and start to realize, we don't have a lot of time to figure this out, and to have the cannabis community who is strong about pushing forward a message, and we stand behind this plant and we believe in it enough. Well, we can believe in our soil enough too to help this cause, help our planet. And we have a very powerful voice, and it's great that we've joined this movement as well.
I 100% agree with that statement as well. It's kind of funny and some ironic, I should say, that ironic that cannabis is bringing organics to people through that way. And when it should have came, you know what I mean? We should be chasing organics and that living prior to cannabis, you know what I mean? But nowadays, it's people trying to grow great cannabis, and then they seek out the organics route and then dig into the soil, and then they go, hey, I should grow a garden. I should be growing better food for myself. And kind of should have come first, maybe, but either way, it's a great thing that it's coming.
Right. It's okay to put the horse in front of the carriage every once in a while. So, but no, I absolutely, I think it's a great thing that our community is as powerful as we are, and that people are standing behind this. And, there's a lot of different versions of organics out there too. Even the no-till concept it's branched out in so many different directions, and you got certain growers and companies pushing these directions, and it all works in the end. And it's all pretty much, we can boil it back down to the same thing. We're using the microlife. It's all in the power of the soil and what we feed that soil. Those are the three basic things. And yeah, it's God, I guess I don't have anything else to say on that one right now, but I lose my words. This is what I was trying to say. I have ADHD, and sometimes I start to talk and then I start to stutter. So I apologize to everyone.
Oh, no need for that, brother. I love the squirrels is what we call them around here. That's why, and partly why the show's time slot so long is so we can venture down some of them alleys. Because the topic at hand's fun, but some you may not realize what somebody's passionate about until you get down some of these, side road squirrels,
Yep.
stuff like that. And yeah,
Yep.
don't be.
But there's even lines that are starting to get drawn in the sand between the organic community, like what defines what kind of organics you're doing. Are you doing living soil? Are you doing no-till? Are you doing super soil? Are you doing just, we'll call it organics, and you're using maybe a product line that came out of, that's still in bottles, but it's sourced from organic matter. And, maybe it's chelated differently and it's a little bit better, right? There's so many different branches of organics now. But like I said, it all boils down to it's better for our planet than synthetics are. And that's the bottom line.
And what's some of the things that are new? Has your viewpoints changed on some things over the years? What have some of the things you've picked up over the last few years?
As far as like techniques and like how we're growing actively, or just in general, what I've witnessed about the industry, and
In
like,
general, have like maybe some things you were firm about? Have you changed a little bit, maybe your mindset and some of those techniques, or
so so we so I do a whole bunch of different techniques, I guess, like indoors and outdoors. I got multiple little rooms set up Most of my rooms are 6x6, so I got them all set up kind of different, and I like to experiment. That's my number one thing that I like to do is do these little micro tests, I guess you can call them. Like I have one room that's on autopilot, no till room. It's been going for years and it doesn't change. I don't do anything different. It's always the same way that I would re-amend it, the same thing I'm going to feed my plants, same order. Um, that room's on autopilot. It takes care of itself. But then I got other rooms, like right now I have one where I'm doing 55-gallon sub-irrigated planters that I just made. This is actually one of the ones I'm putting up on my Instagram page, just for people to see. I've never done sub-irrigated planters. So did a little bit of homework on it. Figured, I see a lot of the guys doing the earth boxes, and the only problem I've ever had with one is I grow plants that are too big. I will outgrow an earth box. I need 2 to 4 cubic feet of soil per plant, like minimum. And so I got these different rooms set up where I can do different things, and I can kind of experiment with them, and I can experiment with, maybe different nutrients throughout the way. Like if I want to try Mr. B's green trees or green grow or Gaia green, I could try these different products, without really a risk to the rest of my system. And as a grower, what I get off on is education. I like to know more. The more you know, the more powerful of a person you're going to be. And with my position in the community and the way that people look at me, they look at me as a leader and somebody who has information that they can come to. And I get people that will send me messages on Instagram, Facebook. And a lot of times they're about problems they're having. Like, I'm not, guy, what does this deficiency look like or something? Could you please help me? And usually I will start with asking them, like, what kind of system do you have? And I try to familiarize myself with these different ways that people are cultivating so that I can help you out. I might not have all the answers, but if I've grown with a certain product or anything and I've ran across a certain deficiency and I'm seeing that in your pictures, then I can accurately give you information that I've used. So to me, nothing's really changed except for the fact that I am not 100% no-till. I experiment with different ways of doing living soil. Outdoors, I have a full no-till setup. Indoors, I have a full no-till setup, but I've done so many different versions of living soils. It's unreal. I can't even tell you. I'm probably into 40 or 50 different attempts at it just to see if something is a little bit better, or if I like it more, it's going to work more, or even if I'm just networking with a buddy that's out of state who's using a method and he's having problems. Well, I have the system set up where I can start something small and try to like hold his hand and teach him through my grow.
That's pretty dang awesome right there. So what have been some of the most successful, things you've used over the years? What has worked, what hasn't worked? And I'd also like to hear your thoughts on pots versus beds. I think that's where a lot of people that try organics seem to try to stumble and fall with the pots, incorporating that into beds. So, all your thoughts on any of the above, pick and choose.
Yeah. So, as far as, okay, somebody was coming in new to the game, never had tried organics, or maybe they just never even grew a cannabis plant in general. The one piece of advice that I'd give you is, if you're going to go the organic route, is to make sure that you're not falling short on your container size. You have to have the volume. And if you're going to go in pots, you got to understand how long you can actively grow a plant in each pot. What size of pot, because I can't grow a full term, I can't grow a plant for 6 months in a 5-gallon bucket and and get the same results as I could as a plant that was grown for 6 months in a 30-gallon pot. And soil volume is probably the biggest thing to me. Starting out, if you were wanted to start out with the no-till route, I'd tell you to go with pots. And I'd tell you to go with anywhere between like a 15 and a 30-gallon pot before you would attempt a bed. A bed's going to cost you more up front. It's going to, there's a larger volume of soil that's going to go into it. And then there's always the chance that you could ruin all of that investment with a bad decision. If somebody put the wrong input in their soil, killed their soil, say you had a pest outbreak and you start freaking out. And as growers, we've all been in this position where we freak the fuck out when we saw a crazy bug in our grow room. Every one of us has. And you start to look around at shit like, oh my God, should I spray that? Should I grab this? Should I pour this in my soil? And you could easily ruin the system really fast if you put the wrong thing in there because you were inexperienced and you didn't know. And I'd tell you to start out with like a 15 to a 30-gallon pot of soil and go from there. And personally, I like as big of a body of soil as I can get by with. If I have a 4 foot by 4 foot space, I'm putting a 4 foot by 4 foot bed of soil, but I'm able to take that risk and that investment to be able to put that in there and comfortably know that, hey, I can make this make sense.
Fuck moment. My what the fuck moment there and that thing was first time I introduced ladybugs into my garden. They cycled through, and then the next generation came out, and I'm in my tent, and I had released the ladybugs in the attic grow, and I had tents downstairs and in the lower portion of the garage area there. And next thing I'm looking at my plants and I see the baby larvae for the ladybugs, the little alligator looking things. And I did not know what the fuck. I was completely panicked. They were fucking everywhere. I was in forums, fucking hell. They're like,
those little black and orange things. I mean, they look creepy. You don't know what the heck they are.
Total panic. Oh, yeah. So everybody has those moments of what the fuck. That's for sure.
Yeah, even me, like more recently, I guess. We've had a very weird winter in Minnesota where in my area for the entire winter, I don't even think we had a full inch of snow. And we averaged over 30 degrees for our winter when normally we're averaging like minus 20 degrees in my area. And, what we saw this year was we had more bugs just in general in our indoor grows. We've had more fruit fly activity. But one thing that I had come into my room in the last couple of weeks and like masses is box elder bugs. And I don't know if you know what those are. I don't know. What part of the country are you from?
I'm in Michigan.
Okay, so you definitely know what box elder bugs are. Little nasty beetles, but they get on your plants and it's just like, oh God, what the hell's that stink bug looking thing doing on my plant? And they're fucking everywhere in my room. So of course, I'm like, okay, do I need to, like I'm looking at the size of this bug and I'm like, what the hell kind of predator bug can I put in my room that's going to eat these things? I'm starting to Google like praying mantis, about to unleash a wolf pack in there, and anyways, through my research, just by calming myself down, Googling it, doing some basic searches, box elder bug will not eat leaves on plants. It will not eat cannabis plants. And I've started to monitor these things and they don't even harm my plants. If I just leave them alone, eventually they walk on my sticky traps. And but we've had this huge influx because this year's been so warm. they didn't go dormant. They didn't go dormant. They're still alive. They're crawling on the outsides of our houses, and they're, on the cold nights, they would come in. And when they'd come in, they'd find any gap and crack that they could, and they would infiltrate the room, in the wintertime. And that's not normal up here.
It has been a definite weird winter up here in Michigan as well. I mean, I think we shoveled twice up here I'm in northern Michigan, so we're fucking I'm used to snow from early October to May. And the last 2 years have not been like that. I mean,
Right.
I live in a town that's famous for what we call tip up town, which is like a little party on the lake there.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. I know what a tip up is. I'm an ice fisherman. I'm from Minnesota.
Yeah. So it's usually a yearly event, and the last 2 years the lake hasn't even froze over, so we haven't even been able to have
Oh wow.
75 year this year. This coming year will be 75 years of tradition. Even though we've had it, it hasn't been. We've had to have it on land. Oddly enough, the last 2 years, and it's been weird.
Yeah. It has been weird, and I mean, I don't know what to think of it personally. I try not to think on it. I just hope that nature is on a cycle, and eventually it will come back around. But it's it's super interesting in the fact that we had an early spring here last year. We got plants started outdoors earlier than we normally could, and then we ran them full term outdoors, like all the way until November. And normally I have to have plants out of the ground by the middle of September, or I'm getting hit with hard frost and they're done. So for us to be able to have that was a godsend. I mean, we had a freaking impressive harvest this year. It was awesome. Plants grew bigger, they grew healthier.
I just noticed this, and hopefully you have somewhat of a Minnesota sense of humor. You're probably one of the first Minnesotans that I've interviewed that doesn't have somewhat of a Canadian accent.
That's because I'm a transplant.
Okay, okay.
I've lived here for exactly half of my life, and I lived in Northern California for the other half.
Uh,
So I grew up out there, but believe me, when you get me around some of my friends, the accent starts coming out. Don't ask me to say bagel.
yeah. So I guess what are some of your what is your favorite cannabis? What are some of your favorite strains? What are you say some of your favorite taste profiles?
Yep. So I'm into the citrus side of cannabis. I really like the orange, um, more specifically like the tangerine and the clementine, that real sweet, sharp, sour kind of orange. That's like my favorite strain was the Locomotion, that the Mendo Dope Boys used to grow. That thing it was like had this tangerine kind of like blueberry, and smelled like their grandpa laid a burnout on it with his 69 Mustang, like it had that burnt rubber undertone on it too. And that was my all-time favorite strain. And when I'd get with those guys, I'd be like, pack it up, man. We got to smoke some of that. And I'm actually pretty blessed because right now I'm growing out a cross of that Locomotion. That Locomotion is no longer around. That original Locomotion male, I believe, was lost to either pest or disease. It might have been the russets. They got it in Northern California, if I remember right. But I have I have a cross that I'm growing out right now. It's the Locomotion times lemon drip that Mendo Dope had done. So I'm hoping to find some really citrusy gas in that. That should be a flavorful one.
That Locomotion was loud. I believe
Oh,
I have a few seeds somewhere still of that, but very, very loud. In fact, when you were talking about the 1,000 gallon smart pots of the Mendo Boys, wasn't that 15 footer indeed the the Locomotion. They had one that year that was like by the end of the
I
year,
don't I don't
they
remember if that one was a
made a
Loco or
part.
a Dairy Queen, but it was one of the two, if I remember right.
Yeah, one of I love Locomotion from that year. By the time it was said and done, you could have practically parked a dump truck behind it and not seen the dump truck.
Yep. I actually I got some seeds stashed away that if you remember Galactic Gardens,
Mhm.
Tony bred it. I think it was the Black Lime Reserve times the Locomotion.
Mhm.
Those ones have been hiding in the vault for a long time. I'm just I guess just waiting for the right time, so someone's going to call me and I'm going to grab that pack one of these days and pop them.
It's a beautiful strain. I tested all that gear out myself. And if you do pop those, I would advise that she's a light feeder. She is a
Okay.
light feeder. So if you push her too hard in the flower, you may find yourself in a little bit of problem. But if you just let her be and natural light feeder, very well, big, beautiful colas, nice strain. She just didn't like to be pushed. Was the
Yep.
only.
I grew out some of Tony's other Black Lime Reserve crosses, and they were all kind of that way. They were real finicky, and I think it was something to do with that Black Lime Reserve that's in there because the Locomotion is an eater
Yeah.
like that. I mean, even right now, the room that I have Locomotion, those Locomotion lemon drips going in. I have some other plants in there, and they're growing twice as fast as the other ones. So they just want to be bushes.
Yeah, that Locomotion can get very big, that's for sure. And I'm throwing a little bit of lemon in there. It's gonna just I can only imagine
Yeah, I think it's
intensifying that loudness of it all.
right. I think it was the lemon drip cross from Exotic Genetics. Mike might have done that one. So I remember they had done these seeds for they did them for a benefit for another weed nerd that was down on his luck, and they bred that strain so that they could raise some funds for that particular weed nerd. And I got my hands on a pack of that at that time. So
Right, and that's one thing about the cannabis community in general is they are eager to help one another, that's for sure.
yep, that's something that, like I said, getting behind the camera and stuff helped me to become a better person in life. And um, I'm an active member of my community now. Before being able to get behind a camera, I didn't have a whole lot of self confidence. I didn't have a whole lot of courage to do those types of things. But Subcool actually nudged me in the right direction with helping people. Malik and myself, we started up 501c3 years back, growing together, where we use the Weed Nerd platform to raise funds to help other weed nerds that were in need. And it didn't matter if you were having car trouble and you just couldn't afford it, all the way down to helping like Hurricane Harvey victims and stuff. So, and the community did that. Malik and myself didn't do it. We just started the collective to be able to collect these funds and distribute them. The weed nerds were the ones who helped that. You guys were the powerful people in the community.
Yeah, Malik's one that he's definitely an amazing dude that has kind of chilled a little bit in the past few years, kind of took a little bit of the limelight. This thing can be do a lot of great things, but it can it definitely lays its toll on you in a lot of ways.
So, on that note, I'll share a story with the world. Maybe people didn't know this. It does start to turn you into a little bit of a monster. For me, I started to get a little bit big headed. My ego was starting to get the best of me. I'm like, hey, look at me. I'd go to the grocery shop and 15 people would be giving me a high five. I didn't know who they were, but they knew who I was. And I started getting very big headed about this, and um, started to get a little too ballsy as well. Like I said, we were I was growing underground in Minnesota, and that's a no-no right in itself. And started to put myself out there a little bit too much and started to get a little bit hot. And um, if so, the growing together came to an end because the bank called me in one day and was like, hey, we know what you're doing. You're using cannabis money to put in this bank account, blah, blah, blah. This is a cannabis business. And we're like, oh, what the fuck? Like, no, this isn't a cannabis business, This is we might be using a platform to raise donations, but these are donations and this is a legal business. This is registered with the Secretary of State. And they didn't like it, and they threatened to turn our information over to the police if we didn't agree to close our bank account. And so we basically we had to close the doors on it. And after that, I didn't have the balls to walk back into a bank and say, hey, you know I want to try this again. I didn't want to get caught. So I started to get a little bit more paranoid, because now I got this thing in the back of my mind that I'm being watched, or what if this bank did do this? So I started getting super paranoid. And I was working with other people on the Weed Nerd panel on some other projects, some commercial projects, and um, got so big headed and paranoid that I actually said some very bad words to other people on the panel and got my ass kicked off of the panel because of that. Sub Cool, one of the last things that we said to each other was "fuck you," and it wasn't for about probably 18 months after that last "fuck you" conversation that I sent him a text one day, asked how he was doing, and he responded, with "I'm doing well. It's good to hear from you. I hope you're doing well too." And that was the last thing that was the last conversation I ever had with Sub. He passed not too long after that. But I want this when I fell off of the scene, it was because I was an asshole, because I got too big headed and I got scared of what I was doing, and I got in my head and I turned on some people on the panel and said some nasty things to them. So it does turn you into a monster. And it takes a lot for me to be able to admit that now, but that's what happened to Minnesota Nice whenever I disappeared for 2 years. That's why I disappeared. I basically said, fuck it. I'm fucking done with all this live stream social media shit. I'm out. I'm just going to focus on me and what I'm doing. Well, there was always a part of me that was missing after that. I didn't have the network that I had whenever I started to learn all of this, and I started to get really good at what I was doing with organics, and had to start self-teaching, and learning my own techniques. And I didn't even have an Instagram or anything to look around just to see what the community was doing, what the world was doing. It wasn't until October, November of 2023, I started Instagram again. And it was when I got back on that I realized, like, holy shit, the no-till community and the organic community, this is what it's become. This is amazing, and I'm just hoping that, that I take the best out of me being an asshole, and actually during that downtime that I had away from social media was whenever I was able to set up all these different testing rooms and try these different techniques. And I was able to read books and educate myself and start to get a deeper understanding. And I didn't have to just focus just on cannabis and the lack of information. I was now comfortable enough or familiar enough to know that, hey, I can start looking at what the hell's the no-till corn farmer using? What's this guy doing? Right? These people have been doing this longer than we have. What are they doing? How are these people making it work? How are they getting $1 million government grants if it doesn't work? It's huge. So that's I hope I didn't shock anyone by telling them that. I wanted to say it on the last podcast that I was on, but it wasn't the right time. I figured that was a better one for talking shit with Eagle.
And I appreciate that. Some cool, was a very good friend of mine for many years. And I do remember everything you're saying, brother.
Yep.
You remember. And I have very much been trying through my little network of people to reach out for you for a very long time since I've been doing this, which
Yep.
coming up in March 25th will be my fourth. I'll be fourth starting 5 years of this. I picked this up when Sub died immediately, went on immediately. But I think we all felt that void of missing Sub. He definitely had an amazing hub of people that liked to be around him anyway, or we all enjoyed the chats and, all that. And it was a big void.
Yep.
And Subhead came through a huge um, kind of change of life, and he was definitely coming through a humble phase of life towards the latter and was very appreciative of all the people that had helped throughout the years and stuff like
Yep.
that. So it doesn't surprise me that I hope you're doing that. I hope you're doing well and stuff like that. He was very much about making amends with a lot of people.
Yep. Yeah. He, we didn't, we didn't even elaborate on what had happened before, and that was one of the best things. It's like, I always held that in, deep down in my heart. It's like, damn, man, this person that encouraged me for so long had this great opportunity to work for him. And I was working with him, and I was part of Team TGA and doing this Weed Nerd live show, and I got my ass booted because of my ego, you know, and my paranoia, and that was humbling.
Well, much respect for you to, take the time out and do a little bit of soul searching. For me, honestly, you know, um, it's kind of brought me back. You know, I'm not afraid to say that, organics hasn't always been a serious subject for me. I've always been, either a super soil or a pump and dump, bad guy or just artificial nudes. So, you know what I mean? There's lots of ways to produce amazing plants, but it wasn't until that through the help of I'm not gonna lie to you here, brother, a little bit of mushrooms, a little bit of a hero dose there, and then followed up with a wanting to know what was going on a little bit in the soil. And I think that tends to, it's KISS, keep it simple, but man, it definitely can be a scientist thing what's going on in the in the soil there. But for me, when I hit that mic, and that's my residence there is the whole mycology aspect of what's going on in the soil. It relates so much to us, the plants, the whole cycle of life that just blows me away. And
Yep.
that led me down like a spiritual path, and you know what I mean, which kind of
I'm
helped.
I'm on I'm at that stage in life where I'm on the spiritual path with soil myself. That's where I was even whenever I did that first Mindo no till video. It was spiritual. That's you start to put that synchronicity together where the soil and the way that these soils feed these plants and work with these plants and is the exact same way that your stomachs are working with your body. Exactly the same. There's almost no differences in how, except for the way we consume food, we consume it through our mouths and chew and eat, and they trade exudates with microbiology to be able to take up what they want, through their roots. Their roots are their mouths, they're also their stomachs. The microbiology is their digestive tract. When you realize that plant is also you, and that soil is you, and that this planet is you, that's spiritual as hell.
It sure is. It definitely is. And the deeper that you dive into it, it kind of just draws you in a little bit more and more. And it just makes you feel, and at least I say you, when I say you, it makes me feel, like my place and the control that I would have tried to have, or you know what I mean? It's like, you know what I mean? It's right there to, you can change things, but you know what I mean? You're best left into the flow and do what you can to help, but not try to control as much. So I agree 100%.
Yeah, that's just another, I mean, for us, guys like me and you and these other weed nerds watching the show tonight, or down the road, that it's just that it's one more powerful thing that the cannabis plant has done for us. You know, just
Right.
another thing that it's done. It's amazing.
It is an amazing plant. Um, so do you prefer to where is your comfort zone at? Is it indoors, outdoors? Don't really care. I mean,
Minnesota, it's got to be, yeah, definitely indoors. 100%. Last summer we started experimenting with greenhouse for the first time, simply because we knew legalization was about to come off, so we could pull the plants out of the woods. You know, we built a greenhouse last year, and that was our first go at that, and absolutely fell in love with that. I think we're actually gonna try some light deprivation this year, and try to run photo periods. In the past, I've always just ran auto flowers outside, just because we don't have the growing season here. Last year with the greenhouse, we were able to pull two different runs of auto flowers, in a season. I could plant them in April, harvest them sometime towards, the beginning of June, plant another crop, harvest that in September. I couldn't do that without that greenhouse. I couldn't get them in April. So we got the bumper crop out of the deal. Then when this last crop of autoflowers came out, we had some smaller photo period seeds that we had in containers that just weren't finishing up for the season. We had the nice enough weather where we could just bring them into the greenhouse, and I kind of fell in love with that. That was super neat. So that led me down the rabbit hole of, now I'm looking into greenhouses, how to outfit these things a lot more. I'm going to learn a lot more about light deprivation, and you know, I don't have to hide it anymore. So it's such a beautiful thing, man.
it is a beautiful thing. And man, even that, I sympathize for the states that haven't passed some type of, legality for cannabis. But, here in Michigan, I got my card immediately. 2008, boom, started to make that transition from a legal weed grower to legal weed grower, and try to make some type of legal limit living out of it. You know what I mean? Back to the quality of life. Long term, tradesman, carpenter, can't do that fucking forever. You don't want to be carrying lumber and standing on walls forever. You know what I mean? I wanted to make that transition from making a good living to making a comfortable living. You know what I mean? Sustaining for a lot longer. So I wanted a better quality of life by switching over to growing cannabis and helping patients. And what a change it was. The stigma of growing cannabis it took a long time for me to even still hold my head up in a crowd of people and go, yeah, I'm a caregiver, you know what I mean? I grow weed for a living, without the room kind of like shaking their head, or, you know what I mean? Acting like there's something wrong with the whole cultivation thing. And we're just starting to break that tape today, but the stigma, years and years, is still there, sadly.
Yep, it's super neat too, with like you were saying, now you kind of pick your path with cannabis legally, and start to figure out how to make yourself that comfortable living. And that's just starting to come to fruition with me. This is new to me, to be able to have those opportunities, and we get a lot of people that reach out and they're like, what are you gonna do, now that it's legal? And it's like, they're like, who are you gonna grow with? Who are you gonna grow for? What are you gonna do? Everybody wants me to be a grower. And personally, I want to work with soil, man. And that's what I'm going to keep doing. And that's why I came back to social media, and why I'm getting back in front of these cameras is I want to continue and pick up where I left off and continue to help steer this revolution where it needs to go, and beyond that, I want to start trying to figure out how to work with some of these other organizations that are already set up for no-till remediation around the world. These like the USDA, they have programs and stuff in place, and they have panels and stuff, and it's like, well, I want to be the guy that works with these people as well. I want to put my face out there for the cannabis community. I want to try to infiltrate and figure out how I can bring, our knowledge and our information to the table to help this movement, and that's where I'm going to go with everything, is continuing to work with the soil, making the world a better place. And, like I said, trying to just take it to that next level. It can't end at cannabis for me. I have a mission. So I want to spread this globally. And if, there's a part of the globe that can't grow cannabis, but they're struggling with, growing their turnips or something, let's do it. Let's go.
Completely appreciate that mindset 100%, and through my spiritual path lately, um what I have found is, we can make gains in life in many ways, but they don't necessarily sustain, if you will. It isn't until we've found something that humanity, others can benefit, or we've decided to, serve in a beneficial way, just a message, whatever, that we start to progress in life. You know what I mean? That's the actual footsteps being taken. The rest of it is just, kind of spinning our wheels and then taking you in the wrong direction. So I can appreciate the fact that, you're staying somewhat true to the love of cannabis, but in a bigger picture, it helps everybody else.
Absolutely. We just happen to be part of the cannabis community, but I also eat food. I eat far more food than cannabis that I smoke, and my body comes first, so if I can pursue it for myself, why can't I help others try to pursue that too? Even if it's just helping somebody up who wants to try to establish a homestead or a permaculture or something, I'm not the type of person to say, no, I won't help you with your soil. Come on now. I'm Minnesota nice. It's what I fucking do.
So, what are some of the vegetable plant? Oh, what are some of the other plants you enjoy growing as well?
Hot peppers, man. That's kind of, I grow a vegetable garden every year where, we do tomatoes, beans, peas, squash, the normal, your supermarket vegetables, nothing crazy exotic, but um I like to grow hot pepper plants as exotic as possible, ones that I've never even heard of, um that just look scary and creepy. I might not even eat all these peppers. Might only enjoy one or two off of a plant, or even just a little tiny piece off of a plant. But I love growing the plants, and I love watching them grow. And they respond to training and pruning a lot like a cannabis plant does too. And um, it's cool to grow. Shit. Just a couple years ago, we grew pepper plants. These things we took 55-gallon drums and cut them in half, and that's what we used for our planters. And these pepper plants grew 6 feet tall out of the top of these things. And I mean, they were 6 feet around, and we couldn't give the fucking peppers away because we had so many of them.
That's a
And
massive.
I didn't grow them just to eat all those peppers. I grew them because they were fun, and I found passion in it. And I got a love for that plant too.
That's a huge pepper plant right there. I enjoy some peppers too, but man, I've never come close to growing no 6 foot pepper plant. That's for sure.
Yeah, we got some
Shit.
cool ones. We actually got them we just planted them out into soil the other day. I had a weed nerd. His name is Hubanero, and he's out of New York. And he sent me some pepper seeds. I don't know if they were crosses that he made or just peppers that he grew and harvested the seeds from, but he sent me some awesome ones to try out this year. I think one of them's like a dragon's breath and primatoles and fatales. And I haven't heard of most of these, but looking at pictures, it's going to be a fun year with those plants.
I had never really considered the fact that, the variety aspect of it in general. Lately, another gentleman that's been on the show, the cannabis a person, he does more than cannabis. We all do more than cannabis. But he was pointing out he was growing vegetable gardens lately, and he was just on Instagram going, what you see at the grocery store is just like selective. You guys are missing out by not going to the seed banks and growing your own vegetables by just lettuce alone. There's so many varieties and what do you call it? Nutritional values, tastes in each one of the varieties that you were, kind of limiting yourself in so many different ways by not going to the seed bank and, just growing your own shit.
Yep, we're headed out to a farm tomorrow. Actually, I was invited out to. It's called Free Future Farms. It's in a town that's about an hour away from where we are, and I'm pretty sure that they do a lot of. They've closed the loop and they do a lot of biodynamic practices on this farm, and they do some farm to table food. Um, Currently, they also have a hemp license in the state, so they're able to cultivate hemp. They're able to do that biodynamically and have the loop closed on that side of the system. So they invited me out to the farm so that they want my input, and um, they want to do they want to work together going forward with their farm, especially as our legalization pushes through, and they're awarded their cultivation license and everything. So I'm looking forward to that project. I'm super nervous about it, but it's going to be so fun because this will be my second commercial gig. So, and then the fact that they already have everything pretty much set up in place, it's going to be even more fun, to go in there. And I think that this farm has the potential to turn heads. They're doing things differently than other places that I've seen, and from what I know, this is one of a kind in Minnesota. So
That's awesome. I like the fact that you're taking yourself out of the comfort zone. That's usually when we're learning something, we're kind of being pulled out. We're out of the comfort zone. We're unsure of our footing. You know what I mean? It's good to put ourselves in that. I hope you take a lot of take a lot of great stuff away from that and add,
yeah,
twist.
you okay? So I'm going out there to check their farm out. Like I said, they invited me out because they want my input on how to, how we can do things and or how they can do things. And I'm actually just looking more forward to learning what the heck they're doing and how they're doing it according to what the pictures I've seen. Like, because it looks amazing. It's a beautiful property, and I mean there's freaking flowers and bees and stuff everywhere. They're raising their own livestock, making their own biodynamic composts. It's already a beautiful system. So I'm looking forward to learning. Hopefully, I can learn some new stuff from these guys. They think that I'm going there so they can learn something from me. I'm hoping I can learn from them.
That's the way it should be. A good relationship should be somewhat mutual and bringing something great to the table to produce something even better, right?
Yep.
Sounds
But
like that's already the plan, right?
that no, this is it's gonna be cool, man. But we got this will this will be a milestone in my book, that's for sure. Being able to work with these commercial farms who want to, they want to take part in the movement too. Um, we guys who've been doing it in the woods out here have been watching Mindo Dope videos and seeing how they do it, and they're crushing it. And other farms that are doing no-till that are popping up everywhere, they're starting to see this, and everybody wants a piece of the cake, because not because it's easier. I can't even say it's easier because I don't have anything to compare it to. Um, Not that it's cheaper, but because it's sustainable and it feels right. And it is right. And we know it's right.
There's definitely that I think that in the beginning, or a rewind back 10 years to like when this started with with you, um it was all about again quantity. How much are we going to get? It's going to slow everything down and stuff like that. I think that everybody has woken up since that period to see that the organic system necessarily isn't the more expensive route, or the slower of the systems and less yields and all that. There has been a great awakening for sure.
Right. And, so I learned something new the other day too, whenever I watched the latest, it was the First Smoke of the Day podcast where they had Mindo on there. And Bleezy was talking on there, and he's like, even back in the day, and like the growers in the hills in Mendocino, we used to mix up our reservoirs of nutrients, and we'd, dump and go. And well, 2 weeks later, those plants they doubled in size. And he's like, and we all were like, oh my God, these nutrients are working so good. And he's like, it wasn't until we started growing in the ground and no till or just with organics that we realized that the plants are still growing just as good. Actually, they're growing better, but they're growing just as good. And the realization that we were having was the plants aren't doing better because of the nutrients. The plants are doing better because of time. It's you watered those nutrients when it was week 2, and it is now week 4. The plants grew that big because it's week 4. They've had 4 weeks of growing time. And it doesn't matter if you're doing synthetics or organics, they'll all be just as big. They'll all do just as good. But what's better for our planet and our soil, and and our own health and nutrient density inside of our food and our cannabis is using the power of the food soil web. So
I still stand on the side of, I would like to be reusing more and more of my soil here in the future. It's just the proper amending in between. I think a lot of us go heavy handed on that, or you know,
it's it
it,
that to me, okay, so pursuing the no-till route, that was the hardest thing for me to get. And I started out, you know, and I still use the Coots mix for my no-till base, but I started out with the Coots mix, and I did a run, and I was in a 15-gallon pot, and I grew plants the normal size that I would whenever I was using just 1 cubic foot pots. And um, the plants did freaking exponential, and I did a second run in them, and they did great. But it was when I got to that third run that I was like, what the hell is going on with this soil? It's not working anymore. At the time, I didn't even know you got to add shit back to the soil. This is information that wasn't even out there on the internet. Is what do you add back to the soil between? I mean, if you search through them, the original no-till thread on the forums, and what you'll see is you'll see a base mix, right? What your soil. You'll see a feeding schedule, with some basic things that here, this is kind of what we were using, aloe vera, humic acids, coconut powder, seed sprouts, things like that. But it's not till way down that whole entire thread till somebody's like, huh, what do we got to add back to this, you know? And I don't even know that that thread's so big now. I don't even know if it covers re-amending soil, you know, adding back to it. And how the heck do we do that? So then now we start over, you know, we make another Coots mix, we refill our pots, we start over. Now, what are we adding back to our soil as we go? And this is whenever, this is the stage I was at when Mindo came to my garden the first time and saw the no-till. Is I was in that next tier of runs where I'd already done a run and then re-amended what I thought and then did another run. And that second run is what the video was. And again, we didn't necessarily know what to add, what amounts to add, you know. So we used what was in our base mix, basically just took a couple handfuls of, you know, the kelp meal, crab meal, neem meal, and the rock dust. Took a couple handfuls, threw it on top of each container between the runs, and it just kept doing good. Well, then you do that 4 or 5 times. Well, now all of a sudden you got problems again. And it was like, what the hell is going on? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. You know, it was doing so good. And now it's underperforming again. You know, I got this red streaky vein right down the middle of my leaves, or, you know, I got these deficiencies that are randomly popping up. And this container looks different than that container. And that's a, you know, these are identical clones. And that one's twice as big as this one. Like, what the hell's going on, you know? And that's where Jeremy came in big with Build a Soil, was he started selling all these amendments and came up with products, you know, that you can use like his craft blend and stuff, and take some of the guesswork out. And he did what I did. He did footwork, you know, and figured out, okay, this is what we got to add back to make this system work. And I've pretty much tried every, you can't name a brand of organic amendments that's an all-in-one, you know, like a 555 or a 784, like all-in-one mix that I haven't tried. I've tried them all, and I've gotten similar results with all of them too. I can't tell you if there's one that's better than another as far as those amendments go, but I will say that with the guessing game of, here, you're just going to add this every time, you know, this amount every single time, or, you know, you can use a little bit less every single time going forward. Well, you still run into problems, and that's where I got into soil testing. I got a couple books that I've read cover to cover multiple times, and I've taught myself how to, you know, I take a Malik 3 test, send it in through Logan Labs, and I've taught myself how to take those test results and figure out what I need to add for re-amending my soil just to bring it back to the base level that I wanted every time. So I start with a consistent base, so my soil's the same. And I was able to, you know, I start with that, and I start pursuing the soil testing and analysis and recorrective actions, and then I run into other problems, right? Well, the problems is the soil's good, it's balanced, right? Well, now what's the problem? You know, where are we coming into these other problems? Well, now the saturated paste test becomes the answer, right? It's better designed for peat-based medias and stuff. Well, personally, I don't use a saturated paste test. I don't know how to analyze one. I'll just be flat out honest. I don't know the proper numbers, the ratios, anything like that. But what I've done through working with a consistent base of soil every single time is I know what I can successfully add to that soil during the grow to push my plants, and when I can push them. And I know how much to add because I've seen it on test results between runs, where if I went a little bit heavy, did it affect the soil test or did it not? Because there's certain products that you can put in there that really won't alter the results of a soil test very much. And then there's products where you can put on there that's just going to absolutely throw ratios way out of whack, especially if you use them too much. So just trying to go through with that balanced base, learning as a grower, hey, this is what I can add, how much I can add, when I need to add it. I know this. Like I said, my no-till room that I have is on autopilot. I can pick the phone up, and if I'm not around, and I can call anybody and tell them, hey, I need you to go put exactly this much stuff on there. And it can be taken care of, just because I know, just from experience, the amount of runs that I have under my belt, the amount of failures that I've had, that I've learned these. And that's my favorite part of this whole thing, is learning and never stop learning. So
Yeah, I like to think that if we don't learn something, even a trivial fact every day, we kind of like wasted the day a little bit. You know what I mean? We should be taking, even again, if it's a trivial fact that has nothing to do, even a new word, whatever. You know what I mean? We should be trying to, make our existence a little better, little by trying to learn shit.
yep.
Never too old.
So I got a question for you. I see your plants right behind you. What system do you like to use to grow? Are you doing living soils? Are you doing um a nutrient line program? How are you doing it?
Well, I am just getting back into growing after a couple of year hiatus, which was kind of forced. And so I'm currently back into a soil substrate. Um, I've went back and forth over the years. Cocoa, I've had a lot of great success in cocoa, and sent organics, so a little bit of organics in my cocoa there. But it was like 4 years ago I made that transition, and it was like here on the show there. Smiley's Gardens, who's been a big part of what goes on here. And it's kind of he was always like my organics guy, you know what I mean? So whenever I want to talk, and at one point he kind of brought me some earth boxes, and I was like, all right, let's put your money where let's do this. Try these out. So he brought me some preloaded earth boxes, and I tried it, and threw some jelly bean in there, and the earth boxes kicked my cocoa's ass a little bit there that round. And so I decided to, start digging deeper back into the soil system. So again, I'm still in soil, uh, starting that over again. I'm still on the fence on, reusing soil, because I'm still in pots. And I think I see more success in organics with beds. Um, and my biggest problem or bugaboo in my head is, again, the no-till argument there, brother. We spend so much time building up the biology systems in them pots, or putting so much thought or mindset into them. Why do we want to take that pot and flip it outside, remix it, kill off all the shit that's going on in that pot, just to kind of start over? And that's always been my MO. It's kind of pump and dump, either getting new quality soil and running with it, but never really trying the amendment route. And to be honest with you, and I'm very much on the record of this, is I've always judged that dumping of the pot, to be my ultimate assessment of how I did that route. No matter how good, if it pushed all kinds of weight, quality, I dumped that pot out, and I mean, I didn't do my job. I didn't, somewhere along the lines, I didn't do my job. Either, it's the wrong pot, or, I could have cut a corner, but that was always my assessment, is dumping that pot in the earth. So it's hard for me to get by that still to this day, I guess.
Yeah, with the using, you said you see got a lot of guys that are just get such better results using the beds, and there's definitely a lot of cushion with using such a large volume of soil. Your soil is alive. I mean, just a teaspoon of soil has more micro life than the in it than the entire planet has ever had humans. There's a ton of life in there, and you got such this big volume of life that now you got the ability to buffer. You can buffer whatever the heck you put in there a little bit easier. It makes watering a little bit easier. It's harder to overwater such a big volume of soil, but like let's say you're in 7 gallon pots, cubic foot pots. If you got 10 of them, and you're just grabbing a gallon of water and just going to each one and just dumping a gallon in, right? And then you grab another gallon and you go to the next one and you dump it in there. Maybe that one didn't need a full gallon, but you just went ahead and did it just because you're just grabbing that gallon because you mixed up 10 gallons and you got 10 pots to water, and you're going to use all of that, right? So you're just going, and you're going to run it. You might run into watering issues. Well, then when you start leaching, if you leach your soil, you push all these bioavailable nutrients out through the drain holes. That's an issue. You flood and kill your micro life. You start to take away relationships between mycorrhizal fungi and the root zone when you let it dry out too much, or you let it or you flood it out. Start to take these relationships away in a smaller container. That's where it becomes trickier and harder to manage. And that's probably why you see guys getting better results in bigger beds. There's that cushion that it has. If I put 2 gallons of water on top of on top of 10 cubic feet of soil, chances of it overwatering that are slim to none.
Other thing too, where I see a lot of people struggle with the organics or straight organics is that sweet spot in the watering there. But now again, just to complicate things even further, again, back to the kiss isn't so simple thing. Kiss is a great mindset, but once you start trying to understand what's going on in the soil, it's not so simple.
No.
it's it's not so simple at all.
No, it
But
really isn't.
over my last few years, I've learned, not just I'm trying to learn what's going on in the soil and the subsystems that are going on. But now I'm waking up to plants themselves communicating, sending nutrients back and forth, just through the root systems and shit like that. So I honestly wonder, like some of these bed systems, um, they work, like you said, by sheer volume and stuff like that. But I think the plants again are kind of evening things out constantly. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and plus, like for example, like you said the fungi, you really can you can find the symbiotic relationship with it. The soil does too. Like a mycelium spore can live dormant in soil for a very, very long time. I mean, we're talking it could be years, it could be a decade, right? It could just, this spore just could be there and it not doing anything until one day it comes out of its comfort zone and it's like, this is my perfect environment. This is going to work. And boom, now you got mycelium webs that'll start spreading through your beds. I'm not saying that it's going to take years, but I'm saying that with this larger volume of soil and these beds, it's just easier to achieve comfort for the micro life as well.
Some of that shit's some of the things that I've learned in the last few years uh has creeped me out a little bit from the days of yesteryear of my life, of like just construction busting into rooms, clouds of dust, no mask, no gives a shit, you know what I mean? Just huffing it in. And now I like the things you're saying here about like microbes and shit. I'm now like realizing, yeah, shit can sit dormant for a while, and you can expose it and fire it out. I believe like again, like archaeology and stuff like that is to yet unleash, you know what I mean, some shit that's been buried for a minute. And you know what I mean? It's there's a lot of stuff in the soil that we have yet to unleash for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I don't remember who narrated the video, but I think it was called Earth. It was like a documentary on Netflix. I think it was called Earth or Life or something along those lines. It's like Morgan Freeman or Oprah Winfrey or somebody that did this. I totally can't remember, but this documentary talks about how the different regions of the world and the wind and the rotation and everything, how they help each other out as well. You know, like the dust in Africa is kicked up, right? And that dust has certain nutritional value and microbiology and stuff, and that's blown all the way over to the mountain ranges in South America where it settles down. And it helps those climate. You know, it's like those species coming from a dormant state in Africa and coming over to a place where it can thrive and grow. And then now this thriving, growing rainforest, you know, has the ability to make rain, right? Well, now this moisture is able to go into the atmosphere, and this moisture is able to, you know, it travels to a different part of the planet, and it benefits it because it benefits the next part of the planet. And it's just this closed loop of how the whole entire planet and everything that's blowing around and moving around is helping itself.
It's tough to wrap your mind around on all the processes that
It's
are going around.
it's a lot, but it's so freaking beautiful. I mean, if you can't find beauty in the fact that the planet remediates itself like that, and it's the planet's not doing it for itself. The planet's doing it for everything that's on it. You know, it's doing it for you. It's doing it for me. It's doing it for all these weed nerds. You know, our kids, everybody. We're all going to benefit from this.
We don't we will continue to benefit if we don't start to get a little bit more conscious of it, that's for sure. As you say, we are, I mean, not just topsoil itself, but as you were saying, you know, we're running out of phosphorus, just flat out, you know, raw phosphorus. And you know,
Yep.
we are
That's another one. That one's going to run out faster than the topsoil runs out. That's, you know, I can't tell you. I heard a number one time. I don't remember. It was 25 to 40 years of mineable phosphorus left on the planet. You know, that's horrible. And to think that phosphorus is already bound up in all of our soils. It's already there. It's just bound up. And it needs microbiology, and it needs the soil itself needs to become comfortable, or the soil needs to become established enough so that it can be comfortable enough so these bacteria and um, fungi species can actually come out of dormancy and work how they're supposed to. You know, like there's isolated strains of phosphorus solubilizing bacteria. I introduce them into my systems, but it's already there. The phosphorus is already there. The microbiology is already there. We just got to work with it. We don't need to haul trucks of the shit in from some mine in Australia that they just discovered.
so that makes me you know, the whole mycology thing blows my mind, to be honest with you, especially us, you know, us. The only thing that really there's more mycology in this sack of you know, whatever you want to call it, then there is DNA and stuff like that. And the only thing that keeps that fine balance is temperature. If that mycology could figure out a way to, you know what I mean, survive in temperatures greater than our body, we would be fucked. You know what I mean? And it just in general, like you're saying, we're
Right.
discovering more nowadays. We're scientifically crossing them to, there's microbes now that can clean up our worstest messes. They found them in Chernobyl, cleaning up that mess, blue algae. They've got the shit that eats plastics now. I mean,
Right. That
but
that
with the
shit's
same thing
amazing.
now, are we gonna unleash the genie in the bottle with all right, it's good for us. It's bad. It's bad. It's eating everything.
Yeah,
We were
yeah.
wrong. We were wrong.
See, I don't know about lab creating certain strains of bacteria and then unleashing them into the community. I mean, it, if it wasn't for China doing an experiment on a monkey, we never would have had COVID. See what I'm saying? Shit
Yes.
fucking happens, and I don't know how I really feel about it. And I don't know if I can get behind all of it. I can appreciate some of the science and stuff, but is it right? That's nothing that I have the ability to tell anybody if it's right. What's it going to cause 5 years from now, 10 years from now, next century? What did we do? You know, we're going in there and we're trying to splice the genes of tomatoes with tobacco and make tobacco. Like, is that good? I
I
don't
just
know.
seen the other day that tobacco.
Tobacco, The Simpsons. That's such a classic episode, though.
I actually just seen similar. They were splicing tomatoes onto it was a tobacco plant.
Okay.
They
Well, that's
grafted it right
funny.
on.
If they're just now doing that, then that's probably another one of those like freak phenomenons that the Simpsons predicted. Because they have an episode on tobacco.
I did know. I just literally seen somebody sent me a reel
Oh
of,
shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll find it and I'll send it to you. You'll
Oh
be
my
like, oh,
gosh. Now you got me wondering. Like, are the
yeah,
Simpsons
I'll
right
send it
again?
to you.
Like, is this just what the heck
I'll
is
send it.
happening?
Yeah, I'll send it to you. You'll be like, no shit, no shit.
But
There is a lot of weirdness of the splicing to go. That bothers me. That aspect of it is because that's where we are going wrong. We find something good, and we manipulate the shit out of it until it's something bad.
we're using alchemy in all the wrong ways in that sense. If you ask me, you can't go do that. I don't know. It just doesn't seem right. To me, creating a strain or to lab create a bacteria or a fungi that can eat plastics, right? And we don't know the consequences of it. It's no different than when we lab created synthetic fertilizers and introduced those to the country with or to the world with tilling and caused the Dust Bowl. At the time, it was great, right? New fertilizers, and the shitty part was it was all like old chemicals from World War II, unfortunately, but still, these people, when they first used it, they saw results, right? Guy had no weeds in his cracks on his driveway, and it was easy for him to remove. The tomatoes blew up the first year we used this, but it started making everything go downhill in the long run. And we realized that that was a problem.
I seen a thing not so long ago that right about that phase where they were preaching the newer ways of farming, with the till and the artificial ingredients that the amount of food we were producing per acre and actually feeding people was more useful than the shit that we produce today, just because it don't sit on the shelves as long, and it's bad before we can even get it out. And there was just so many other problems with the today's traditional farming, that the farming that we did way back when was just right. You know what I mean? We were kind of pushed into changing our ways, or more, I better said, manipulated into changing our ways so they can sell us their artificial ingredients and shit like that. Get rid of their reserves of wartime waste, basically, like you said.
Yep. And here's another thing that they're doing too that, you don't ever hear about, but, greenhouse gases, right? The world is worried about them. If, we have very high amounts of carbon in our atmosphere that don't need to be there. Another one that would be nitrogen. There's a ton of nitrogen in our atmosphere. That makes up the number one, or that's the number one most abundant gas in our atmosphere. I think it's like 70 something percent of our atmosphere is nitrogen, right? Well, you see that they have a problem with cows in the world, right? Cows, they're making all these greenhouse gases. They're farting like crazy, they chew their cud, then they fart all this ammonia out, and this ammonia is causing a spike in greenhouse gases. Meanwhile, what they're not telling you is the amount of farmers throughout the United States of America and the rest of the world that are using synthetic nitrogen. They're tilling it into their fields, and it's reconverted back to or released back as atmospheric nitrogen rather quickly. It doesn't stay in the soil as a nitrate, it gets processed and it goes back to the atmosphere where it came from. So we're pumping nitrogen into the ground that's being released back into the atmosphere, and nobody's questioning that whenever they're telling you it's the goddamn cows that are farting up a storm. Let that sink in.
That's I'd take that back to more of a propaganda thing to push their initiatives,
But
basically.
yeah, or they're creating a, my dad used to tell me when I was a kid, if you want to take over the world, you cause a problem and you provide a solution.
Yeah, it's
And
very true.
and you know they do exactly that. But what I hate is whenever they wash shit out, and or they greenwash things, and they try to tell you that, oh, this is just as good, when it's really not. It's not the same. It's not one and the same. You can't tell me, you can't sell me, you can't be Monsanto or Dow Chemical and come up with an organic line of fertilizers that's USDA approved and tell me that you're going to go put those on the soil and that you can get the same certification I can, that if I was doing no-till and growing more nutritionally dense food than you were using my methods, that they're one and the same. They greenwash them with terms like organic. It's organic. It's just as good. It's organic. No, there's varying levels of that shit too when it comes to nutritional density in food, and just overall health of our plants and everything. There's big differences. There's variances in it.
Well, I definitely think that that's true, especially within the food aspect things. The organic things that we're buying in the market. There, yeah,
You'll
they
you'll
say
hear me
organic.
you Yeah, you'll hear me reference food a lot because, like I said, man, we consume way more food than cannabis. And if you can figure out how to sustain your body, then you'll have no problem sustaining a cannabis plant. If you were just starting out, you got to learn to grow somewhere, whether it's with vegetables or what. But we just need to be concerned with overall agriculture. All agriculture. We shouldn't limit ourselves as weed farmers just to, oh, I'm going to learn this plant. We should understand and take these practices that we use. If you're doing no-till in your basement and you're growing some weed plants, but outside you're growing in fucking Miracle Grow soil that you went and bought at Menards or Lowe's, that's it's not really, is it doing anything? Let's be real. Like your weed might be better that you're smoking, but
But
it,
you're killing your body.
is it better? I don't know. We should be able to take these practices that we're learning as a community and apply them wherever we can, even if it's just going over to a friend's house and you see that they're using shitty ass Miracle Grow soil, and you'd be like, hey man, check this shit out, check
The
this
mess
out. That's where
definitely
it starts.
from people like yourself that are still pushing this, I mean, I can't think of, how far back we'd still be if it wasn't for people pushing for this. I mean, look at how the acceptance rate, how long it took, if it wouldn't have been started when it did. You know
Long
what I
fucking time. And let me tell you, it when I was working with Oldie and Bleezy to set up one of their old farms, with the no-till and stuff, and we did that first farm that way. It wasn't easy for me to talk those guys into doing it. They believed me, what, because I showed them what I was doing, and we're able to do this, and they saw that it worked, but nobody around them was doing it, so it was a hard push to get them to be able to be like, okay, let's give this shit a try, because they had their livelihoods on the line. They farmed for a living. That was the difference in what I farmed for. I farmed for my own bag. And to be able to push them and motivate them into that direction, and you see where they've blossomed with it, and the amount of people they can reach with their platform is impressive, and it worked. It worked. I knew it would work. I had no doubt that it wouldn't work, but to be able to push somebody new in that direction, it wasn't easy. But that's why I said it starts small. If you can go over to your mom's house or your family member's house, friend's house, and you could show them how you're doing it. Hey, look how we grow our pepper. Look how we grow shit. They got weed plants, and we've all walked into a buddy's room and seen weed plants that are like, your buddy's like, oh, they're looking good, and you get in there and you're like, oh fuck, like damn, your plants aren't that good, but you don't want to tell them that, you want to pat them on the back and encourage them to keep growing weed, right? But if you can show them better ways to cultivate, do it.
agree. It's through the process. I mean, I'm still, let me be honest with you, Minnesota. I'm still a little bit afraid of the full organics side of life because I really try to be a good person, but when it comes to like organics, we can really try to be very good stewards. I mean, if you wanted to live the life, fuck, earthworm beds, bokashis, both of those two things right there puts a huge, lift in the footprint you're leaving behind, the shit that ends up in landfills and stuff like that. And if you're already watching out for yourself and the inputs you're putting now, you're creating a richer cycle. You know what I mean? Because now you're giving the better inputs to the worm bin and you're bokashing better ingredients there as well. And I'm just afraid that once I start down that road, there'll be a bend, 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 bend. You know what I mean? No, 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 no. That goes to there. It'll just become so, yeah. Don't
I
even go over there. He's got a fucking bend for everything.
I haven't left that road yet, man. My car's still making left turns, and I'm still just going down every rabbit hole with it that I could find, and that's where I find entertainment in it, is trying new things. If I got worm bins. You should see I have a storage locker that's full of old gross shit and methods and ways that I've used flower pots, different sizes, different shit that I've tried, just to see if I like it or not. I'm a DIY guy, so I like to make a lot of my things. Like I like to build out rooms, and I like to, like build tables and shit like that for my rooms, and I don't want to just go buy a water tank. I'd rather buy a trash can and drill a bunch of holes in it and freaking put float valves and stuff in it. That's, that's my style with like creating a grow room. And I've done the same thing with organics. And I would tell you not to be scared of it. And I think what a lot of people are scared of is failing. And if you don't fail, you're never going to succeed. I know with your current system and with other grows in the past, I guarantee there's something in your head that you failed on, but you're still growing,
Uh,
So I'd tell you to pursue the organic route. I'd tell you to find it inside yourself to just go ahead and just take that leap. And as a new person coming into it, right, if you don't have all the knowledge, you need this is right where I started. And like I said, this is what I still use to this day is the Coots mix as a base. And then if you go to that original no-till thread, that forum that's online, I don't remember what it is, Roll It Up, Grass City, IC Mag, whatever it is, find that one. I think it's called like No-Till Gardening Revisited. Follow the watering schedule on there to a T, and you will be blown away.
Coot was not an easy interview as I sat there with nothing but cocoa plants behind me.
I believe it, but I'm telling you though that system works. That system works freaking. It speaks volumes. It works so well, and it's so easy, and it's so easy for anyone to get into. What gets confusing now is now you have all these different. You have all these. You have all these different abilities, and um, you have all this knowledge that's coming together, all these new companies that are forming and stuff, and you're like, what the hell do I use? How do I know not to mess this up, and even like Build a Soil, you can see how they've progressed with it too. They originally sold pretty much what was on that watering schedule. When you first went to the Build a Soil website, you could buy a Coots kit, or you could buy all the shit that was the Coots kit individually. You could buy just the rock dust or just the kelp meal. You could buy the fulvic acid that Coot recommended. You could buy the coconut powder. He sourced the aloe vera, and that's pretty much where he started out with it. And it freaking worked. And then you can see how that started to evolve as knowledge has come to the table. And now he's got a full blown like feeding chart. And as a new person coming into organics, and you look at that, and if you don't understand that feeding chart, you might not do as well as you think you're going to do. Or it might get overwhelming for you just because it's a shitload of shit, right? Like it's a bunch of stuff. I need 2 different kinds of plant ferments. I need, these 3 bacteria products. I need, this dry amendment, this one to mix into a tea, it becomes a lot. But if you were to start with what was on that original no-till thread, I guarantee you're going to have some banging ass results, and you'll be shocked.
More people are definitely waking up to it, that's for sure. It's nice to see. Do you ever see yourself being a soil producer?
Nope. I don't have any desire to actually manufacture soils. What I want to do is do more consult, hands-on working and testing, lab testing different fields, and remediating soil, bringing it back to where it needs to be. And, in the world, if we were neighbors, your property, your soil is going to be different than mine. Even if it's, just 20 feet away, there might just be something stupid in between us, like a small little hill that affects how many nutrients are in your soil versus how many are in my soil. Right. Or there might be a dip in my property and I collect more water, so therefore more shit gets leached out. We need to treat all those differently. And I don't think manufacturing soil and putting it in a bag and sending it to people is going to accomplish what I personally want to do with my goals, as far as like helping to remediate and work with farmers and stuff that want to remediate this planet.
Yeah, you guys definitely have your work cut out for you to reverse the curve that's already going there. That's for sure. So I appreciate people like yourself that are, willing to take on the task because the work you had ahead of you is not an
It's
easy one.
like you had spoke earlier about, you want to grow cannabis and you want to make a comfortable living for yourself. Well, I would like to be able to do this and make a comfortable living for myself as well. And in my mind, I'm having a really hard time figuring out how to sell the idea. Does that make sense? How do you sell the idea? You know, like, again, I'm going up against that current system. And that current system right now, and just the world of agriculture, the current system protects farmers, with insurance and um, minimum sale prices and shit like that, so they know that they're going to get an ROI, right? But what happens 56 years from now when that farmer can't grow anymore because he has no topsoil left? What happens?
Nothing.
What happens to him then, right? Well, the problem with big problem with farmers these days is lifespan is one, and then the age of actual farm owners, right? The age is like over 50. The average age is over 50 years old on somebody who owns a farm, and their lifespan is not very, for a farmer, is not very long either. It's only like 65 to 70 years. So these farmers are coming in for 10-year bursts on owning these farms. How the hell do we make the change whenever the turnover is that fast? We got to get in with these younger people. And these younger people, I'm hoping, are the ones that are watching platforms like yours, and catch this show tonight and see that people out there care. There's people that want to better the planet. There's a whole community of weed nerds that want the planet to be better. And we can do that through agriculture. We can do it through what we learn with this plant and our powerful community, and our voice can be heard. you know Here's something. So right now, look at all the states that are changing rules and regulations on heavy metals, and this one blows me away. Okay, so heavy metals shouldn't really be a concern to anybody, especially in organics, especially if you're home cultivating. You've never even heard of a threat before of you potentially just growing a tomato or an eggplant in your backyard, and it's not going to be safe to eat because it has too many heavy metals. Okay, you never heard that term before cannabis started legalizing, and our no-till movement and our organic movement started to move into these commercial facilities, and the quality started encroaching and surpassing the quality of these large corporate companies, right? So it's almost as if their way to throw a wrench in our gears is by creating these problems. Again, you create a problem, you provide a solution, right? We're going to create the problem of you can't do it this way because of heavy metals. But, if you still want to be in the game, here, look, we have this product over here that's going to pass for you. It's synthetic, and it's something we made too, and we're going to, we're your competitor, but we're going to sell you this product too. You can have it, right? So they're going to make money on their competitors. And they've created this problem for us with this heavy metals. The coolest part about this and the way that the soil works, and we already knew this before they launched this attack, was that the soil has the ability to suppress the heavy metals and not make them bioavailable for the plant. And it's just a matter of what you put into the soil, what level you put it into the soil, how your bacteria is functioning. Is it, moving things through the soil like it should and having the relationship with the plant like it should? And making sure that you're not fully or feeding on flowers with something that's going to fail testing. Right. So the coolest part about that is what that's going to end up doing is it's going to make it so that commercial agriculture for food is going to have to follow in our footsteps, because they didn't even have these tests designed and out there to the masses. If you had a no-till farm and now all of a sudden they're like, oh, now you have to get this specific heavy metals test that's levels that are lower than the current tests that exist worldwide. Here, we're going to go ahead and create this test so you can do this. What that's now going to do is that's going to raise the bar for food and agriculture. And now we can scream back at them and say, look, now they have to get back up. They have to get up to speed with us. We're consuming food. All we're doing is smoking some weed, but we're consuming food. We should be concerned with the food. So now it's going to force them to raise the bar on the food, and it's going to offer the world a healthier food source in the long run. I think it's a great thing. And I think if we play our cards right as a community, we can attack them where it freaking hurts.
Be nice.
Hey, you're muted.
Thank you. It would be nice to see some of these standards that are being held to cannabis, to some of these other things that are on the market being smoked. If tobacco itself was as stringent, there would be no product. None of them would be on the shelf. I mean, quite literally, none of those tobacco products would be on the shelf. You know what I mean? If you put heavy metals into the mix, I mean, but for some reason, they've picked on cannabis to raise.
Yeah, there's this double standard. I don't get it. But like I said, they're picking a fight, man, and we know how to fight. I mean, look at how long we have fought for this plant, and look at where we've gone with it so far.
I 100% agree with you that the cultivation of cannabis, the innovatingness from like just the greed to produce better cannabis, you know what I mean, will in fact drive soil science, in a lot of ways. Will it be somewhat out of greed from big corporations and stuff like that? Maybe. Well, hopefully it'll benefit all of us. Yes, hopefully. But it's definitely going to push the envelope. I'm 100% with you on that.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful thing, and I don't know. I hope that through tonight's episode that somebody heard my message, and I encouraged even just a couple people out there to try to make a difference in life. Not just for your own personal weed garden, but for your life, your friends' lives, your family's lives. This is a matter of life, and I don't care how you look at it. Growing anything is a transferable skill. You can grow one plant, you can grow any plant, and we are a direct reflection of what we put into our bodies. Our plants are a direct reflection of what we put into the soils. And I hope that, I've encouraged somebody to take a step to try to, look into this and actually maybe try to practice it, give it a shot. Don't be intimidated. Don't be scared. There's a freaking weed nerd army out there doing organics and no-till now. So the resources are there. A lot of the footwork's been done, so you're not going to fail.
I really appreciate. I was sincerely stoked to see you on Organically Blunt's episode the other day.
Yep.
if you run into Daniel and Brian and ask them, hey, was Eagle trying to really get me on the show? They'll undoubtedly tell you, yeah, he's asked about you almost every time we go to Michigan. And
Yeah.
the
I
last time
told Oldie
I
the other
asked,
day
he
I was going to
said,
be on the show, and he was like, "Oh, that's fucking dope."
good. I'm glad to hear that. They're awesome, man. It's been awesome to see their success. To they're just now. I mean, they were a seed that was planted 10 years ago and it had just started to sprout, but they're just now, you know what I mean? People are really now just starting to appreciate what they should have been appreciating a long time ago, both in information from people like yourself and music from Mendo Dope, people like Mendo Dope that, were gems back then that just hadn't made the reach yet, you know what I mean? And I'm super stoked to see you back on the scene, brother. I had a lot of respect for what you were doing back then. And I'm sure that, you're just starting to scratch the tip of what, you know what I mean, is good things to come for you, my friend. No
Yeah,
doubt.
cool, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's it's a little intimidating to come back on the scene. I'll be honest. Like I said, I felt in my mind I left on a shitty note, and I just kind of just dipped off. I was like an ostrich. I stuck my head in the sand, and just kind of went into my own little world. And there was a moment where I helped start things. I had, we had on sub show, we had 5,000 people at a time tuned in live every Friday night, and they would hear myself and other great people in our industry talking. And I just left them dry, man. I left all you guys dry, and I apologize for the way that I did, but you know, I never stopped being who I am, never stopped doing things the way that I do them. And I'm here to help now, if that means anything to anybody. I'm here now. And now that our state is legalized and I can do local business, I can start to fulfill my dreams. And that should be worth a lot to somebody, to know that, hey, I'm a passionate person about this and I'm going to keep pushing hard as hell. And you'll see. Everybody will see,
I'm sure we will, and I can't wait. I see there's insurance guy in chat wants to know if you know dioxide. I believe you came in a little bit later after dioxide was kind of in the group
the
there.
the name dioxide was always mentioned. Um, dioxide didn't. I think dioxide just came in front of the camera. Dioxide was always around and part of Subcool's people. But I did not know dioxide personally. No.
Yeah, there's been so many people that's been a part of the team throughout the years that has made, the legend. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
TGA, Sub was most certainly kind of the head of the team, if you will, but there
dude,
was
he was the man with the balls.
behind the scenes that helped make that happen as well. There was
Yep.
there's a lot of people that put in hands on that too.
Yep. Nope. I have nothing but love for Subcool. Um, and then everybody that I ever had the opportunity to work with in the past too, through Mendo Dope, Subcool, all these connections that I made, friendships that I've made. Like words can't even describe it. It's such an awesome experience, and you know, I'm just gonna just keep on going and just keep on giving. That's all I have. I only have myself to give. And I'm gonna do that as best I can.
Pretty honorable, brother. It's really honorable. In the beginning of this, you told me an hour and a half. I just thought I'd check in. I'm willing to
Yeah,
go as long
it's
as we
okay.
can go.
I
I'm
I was looking at the time too. I actually have to do, I have bronchitis. I don't know if anybody on the show has been able to kind of hear it in my voice, but I've had to mute my mic to cough off screen quite a bit tonight. So I, uh, I got to get ready to go do a breathing treatment here in a minute. So I got to clear my lungs back up. Stuff is
That's
nasty, man.
super important. Health is the only thing, that we truly have. You know what I mean? And without
Yep.
our health, we don't have shit. And a lot of us don't realize that until later in life, after we've carried way too much, inhaled way too many bad dusts and shit like that. We go, wow, wait a minute, I need to take better care of myself. So yeah, do your breathing treatment. A couple of things before we go. Again, I don't know how many episodes you've been able to watch, but there's quite a few. Basically, the way things happen around here is there's a few different shows that I wish and hope that you be a part of here in the future. First of all, there's the fucking talking shit with Eagle. Secondly, now that you've done this, the link that I sent you is always good. So anytime you see a Weed Nerd World, which are Monday nights at 9 Eastern Standard Time, Thursdays at Eastern Standard Time, more than welcome. Come hang out anytime you want. The Weed Nerd World is basically a revolving door of past guests. And as of tonight, 834 possibilities that could come revolving through the doors at any time of any episode. So hopefully you'll pop in and grace us with your presence on a few of those. And then of course the most recent effort, and I'd like to take this time to apologize to all the people. Yesterday there was supposed to be an episode of the Organic Takeover with last night's guest Chris Trump, but I couldn't fire the show off from my hotspot. So when you said you had internet problems, I'm like, this is karma. This is karma for biting me on the ass last night for trying even more harder. So I'm like, I can't even, bitch. You can't make it. You can't make it. I totally. This is just Sorry for you guys last night. You guys 100% missed an amazing conversation off air, but Chris has agreed to come back for the next episode. 2 weeks from yesterday will be the next episode of the Organic Wormhole. Chris Trump will be the next guest. Nick from Rooted Leaf will be the next guest, and hopefully someday Mr. Mendocino Nice will join us on the panel for some organics talk. I would be honored if you'd come sit on the panel and come talk with us one night. But all those happen on the channel. All of them I'd like to see you be a part of at some point, even if it's just popping in for here and there. Again,
Always.
I'm not just saying this, man. So I do have a lot of respect for you and the things that you guys were doing way ahead of the curve, and I'm glad to see you. Sincerely glad to see you back at it, brother.
Oh, I really appreciate it. And I do appreciate you having me on, Eagle. It was perfect timing for you to reach out, and I really appreciate it. And I know you've been a weed nerd for a very long time. And I actually, I remember I used to always read your comments on the Weed Nerd live shows. We'd be chatting and you'd be in the chat, and you've been a weed nerd since day one yourself, brother. And I always support you, man.
I appreciate that. One last thing, and it might be the silliest thing, but it's my favorite thing to get from you before you go. And it's a little funny thing. I like to call it the sound bite. And at some point, I will use this for a commercial for your episode. So basically, my version of what I'm looking for is, hey, this is Eagle, and I'm on fucking talking shit with Eagle, episode 834. You can put whatever you want before it or after it, as long as that's in the body somewhere. I would be more than grateful. This is the only episode. I told you before the show, I don't edit or nothing, but this bit me in the ass at one point trying to go back and get the sound bites. So this is the part I record. I am ready for you anytime you are, my friend.
What's up, weed nerds? This is Minnesota Nice coming at you from 420 feet below ground. You are on fucking Talking Shit with Eagle.
Hell yeah. Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much for taking the time out to come hang out tonight, man. Time is the most valuable thing we have next to our health. And you gave me a nice little hunk of yours tonight. So I greatly appreciate that. Good luck with your breathing treatment. And again, don't be a stranger. I look forward to seeing you more in the future, my friend.
Appreciate you. And I appreciate everyone for tuning in. And you guys, anybody ever needs
Remind
to get
them
a
where
hold
they
of
can
me.
find you. Instagram.
Yep.
YouTube,
That's us.
all that
Yep.
stuff.
Anybody needs to hit me up, you can get a hold of me on Instagram at mn_nice420. You can always reach out to Eagle. I know that he can put you in touch with me if he needs to. But yeah, feel free to ask me any questions. I'm here for you guys. I'll try my best. And if I don't know the answer, I'm not shy to tell you that either. So
Yeah. With that being said, I'd like to thank you guys for your time as well. Most importantly, do not forget to do something nice for somebody. Random acts of kindness do save lives. We all need help once in a while. And with that being said, thank you one last time, Minnesota Nice. We are out of here, my friend. Thank you.